Yep, it'll be on when we start.
Well, fuck. We didn't want to hear that.
It's not what you said the other night.
And that was live. Good job. What is up? Good morning, everybody. We had some fun technology crap already this morning. You know, technology is always great when it freaking works. So we got Mr. Mustache joining us today. Mr. Bernie making us going international with the whole Canuck side of things. I don't know what the heck to do with that yet, but we're going to have some fun, you know, messing with the Canuck on a regular basis. So it should be a good time.
We'll figure it out, Donnie.
For sure. So, Keith, I know you did a bunch of crazy shit this weekend, but everybody, how was the weekends? Anything exciting happen?
It was awesome. My youngest daughter's in town, and so we went to the Fort Worth Zoo. We went to the Barbie movie, which was interesting. I only fell asleep twice.
I've heard mixed reviews on that. I've heard some people say it's freaking awesome. I've heard some people say that it's, you know,
that too.
Horrible.
It was interesting what they did and how they did it. So, you know, I don't know. You know, I don't get into all the political bullshit views and things like that, but it was interesting what they did.
Nice. Kevin, you did your back wall finally. I know you didn't do it.
No, I actually did. Me and my old battalion commander, he brought his table saw over, and we put it up.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks good.
I figure out to put on your TV back there, but
I have our logo, but its light is kind of odd. It'll be better when I'm closer.
Yeah. Oh, nicely done though, Bernie. You got all kinds of trinkets and stuff back there.
He has all kinds of alcohol back there.
I do. Yeah, I'm a big bourbon fan. You know, Keith and I had a really good conversation a few weeks ago in our VC.
Nice. So for me this weekend, I rescued a couple of ducks that got away from their damn mama and were stuck in the pond and couldn't get out. So I had to get those out. Freaking caught up with some friends that I hadn't seen in a while. One of my buddy's uncles was in town, and I haven't seen Uncle Joe in probably 13 years. And Uncle Joe's a cool guy. I wish I could interview him on the podcast and stuff just to share his story. But he is responsible for a lot of very, very cool products and services coming into the U.S. from other countries. He owns an island in Singapore. He has 7 manufacturing warehouses in China, like 4 or 5 in Scotland, and some other countries. He got in on Google when it was $20 a share. Or not Google, Apple when it was $20 a share. And he got in Tesla early as well. He was friends with Steve Jobs. I mean, this guy, and you wouldn't know him. You'd never recognize him, never see he's never been anywhere. He's got the highest award for an American can get in like 3 different countries. He's got, they gave him you know how sometimes you get an honorary PhD or honorary doctorate from a college. Singapore gave him an honorary doctorate from the country because of how much commerce he brought through there. I mean, it's just insane, the stories this guy has, and it's pretty wild. So Harvey jumping in from Dallas. Rob's got a Friday virtual whiskey happy hour.
Yeah, actually, you know, if you go check out Rob, that virtual whiskey hour is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Fridays are tough for me. They do it
Yeah.
Fridays at 5 o'clock. It's so tough. We got so much going on. I've made it a few times, and they They do
Well,
it
yeah,
right.
by Friday at 5 o'clock, it's time for a whiskey. Yeah.
Well, it's probably time for the fourth or fifth whiskey.
Right. So, but yeah, you never always remember all the people that you hit in your life, and like I said, it's been 13 years since I sat down with Uncle Joe, man. But freaking the stories people have, it's just pretty freaking wild. Yeah, there's Joe jumping in here this morning. So, um, kicking it over to a quick segment. They're asking me to teach more and more, and drop the link for his hole. I'm assuming he's dropping the link for the whiskey, Rob. But
Yeah, listen, I am not.
touching.
I'm not touching that one with an 8-foot pole.
This morning is starting off all kinds of interesting.
Whole hour. Also, what is
Hour.
his name? The person you mentioned. Oh, I'll put it back up. So Rob Fenstermaker as the
Yeah, send him a just connect with Rob on LinkedIn and he'll get you the link.
Yeah, for sure.
What's up, Paul?
So, I'm having a lot of fun. I've been playing a lot of TikTok lately, and I've been getting into some unintentional fights, but it's kind of fun
Unintentional, he says.
Well, I'm not going out there to put out content to pick a fight. I just know I'm talking about things that could be deemed sensitive in nature. And the only thing I'm doing is telling people that to quit having these get to know you meetings. Like, I'm so fed up with this. Hey, let's do a get to know you virtual coffee. Fuck off. Right.
But do you think it depends
on?
Do you actually want to grow your business or you just want to have fun meeting people?
Right. and if you go look at my one TikTok video, I should probably put the link to it. Me and this gal go back and forth for a while, and she's like, if you don't think sitting down and getting to know somebody is worth your time, you probably don't have a very successful business. And I had to laugh, because I think we're doing okay. But in the same token, all these people, and I think networking in general is to blame. Is once upon a time when people got into networking, you were told to go get into conversation with people and get to know people and figure out what their business is, tell what your business is. And man, that shit is so dumb to do. It just does not move your business forward. All it's going to do is get you into a ton of conversations. Another one I put out was, when you speak about your products and services, you need to speak with confidence. Don't mouse up, project. You're supposed to be the expert and the best at what you freaking do. And, we've all sat across from somebody when they start talking about their products and services, you watch them just kind of shrink up. And when they do that, you lose the confidence that they can deliver on what they, actually say that they can do. And the number of people that, came out and said, well, people may not be as confident as you, or they may not be able to project it. And it's just funny watching the people come out and say different things. And I said in another one, I'm like, in every conversation, you should be able to make an introduction, a referral, right? Or give knowledge. And, it's the three major things that you can do. And knowledge could be other networking places. It could be, other business things that can help it out, which is what I do a lot of times on calls. And the number of people that came back and said, that's coming from a greaseball sales guy, or, that. And I'm like, how the hell is getting into a conversation and giving introductions, referrals, or knowledge a greaseball sales guy move? And, these are all they're coming from people that are not used to really growing a business. And I would challenge, they actually don't want to grow a business because they like this get to know you stuff. They like this socializing, and that feels like they're accomplishing, different things when they can just go socialize with people. And so, I was not expecting, and I guess, anywhere you put out original thought, you're going to pick a fight with somebody. And I just wasn't expecting that these were the fights that we were going to pick, or I was going to pick, by putting out this type of content. And so I'm going to go louder on this and sit higher on this soapbox that, the way that we were brought up in networking, these are the people who don't truly sell. They're in process where business comes to them. They don't go to it. Yeah. And they're broke. It's like anybody who says their business is 100% referral business. I can tell you if your business is 100% referrals, you're going to struggle, and you're going to struggle tremendously. So,
What do you think? They might also just be a little bit scared.
oh,
Like, what happens if a
Yeah.
big account comes my way? Like, can I handle it? Can I take this on?
I know I was when I was doing commercial printing, especially in the early years, man. I'm like,
yeah.
what happens if this hits? And the funny thing is you never get a chance for it to hit if you don't put it out there. And what do you learn if it? Oh my goodness, that's a big word. Cognitive dissonance.
Listen,
Can we use shorter words, Richard?
Richard's wife typed that. That wasn't from Richard's.
Well, and I think Richard's kind of onto a point, because I think part of it is people don't want to be told that they've been doing it wrong for all this time, and that they got suckered into a way that isn't actually the best way to do stuff. So there's going to be that piece of them needing to save face and not wanting to admit that, like, oh crap, I've wasted so much time.
Well, and I think you're right. I think they're choosing to die on a hill because they've always done it this kind of friendly, get to know you stuff. And now when somebody's standing out going, hey, you've been doing it wrong, they don't want to be proven wrong. So it's easier to pick the fight. And at some point, they're going to look up when their business isn't growing, their network is just the same people, right? Their mindset hasn't changed. And at some point, they're going to get to a place of, hopefully they get to a place of, okay, there's got to be a better way to do this. And that's when this type of stuff will come back to them and go, all right, let's level this up. But I promise, if you go out and you meet with the right people, quit doing all these freaking meetings where you're meeting with every Tom, Dick, and Harry under the sun. Get very, very specific. Go meet with people who are selling to the same end user that you are. Go get in those conversations, and then spend time in those conversations getting focused on, can I introduce them to somebody? Can I give them a referral, right? Can I teach them something that I've learned, right? And give them that value and watch reciprocity happen. I mean, it's a real thing that when you help somebody, they usually want to help you back. And this isn't even some crazy universal shit. This is just kind of a life rule. You do enough of the right by people, and then if you're that person that's like, dude, but I give so many introductions, I give so many referrals, and I never give anything, that's your fault, right? The only reason you're not getting them is because you're not asking for them, or you're not asking for them in the right manner, right? If you can't tell people specifically who you need to be introduced to, that's on you. You can't. I mean, I tell people a lot of times in meetings, hey, I want to meet the podcasters, because I love getting on podcasts. I love being a guest. And people are like, I don't know if I know any podcasters. And I'm literally like, okay, well, let's jump on freaking LinkedIn really quick. Type in the word podcaster, click on your connections and see who you know. And almost every time somebody goes, oh, I know a couple of podcasters. I'm like, would you be okay making that introduction? And they're like, yeah. And it's really that simple most times to get introduced to people. So, people can say things like, hey, do you know anybody else that sells to manufacturing businesses? Or anybody else that sells to software companies, right? And these are the type of things that you need to get introduced to. And it's just amazing that when you are actually purposeful in these conversations, you're really protective of your time, how more often and more ready the things will happen. And this is how you play offense in business, right? Don't just sit around, get to know you. Don't just sit around and have all these small conversations.
And I think, Donnie, people are unconsciously incompetent, right? They don't even know what they don't know most of the time, right? They go through, I was guilty of this too, right? Going through all these network meetings, introducing, getting introduced, people having great conversations, right? So I thought, but they led nowhere. But I was doing exactly what everybody told me I should be doing.
Yeah. And this is why we got to continue to go louder with this and continue to talk about this. And, I like the fact that it's picking a fight, only because every time somebody yells at me or tells me I'm wrong, 10 or 20 more people get to see that. So please keep bringing that, keep bringing the heat. And look, most times if something pisses you off, it's because it really hit a vein, right? It hit that nerve hard. And it's something that you've been trying to think through and work on already. So I like the fact that it's picking that kind of fight all the way.
So, Keith, you need to thank Amanda for her pity compliment, because can we really call it what you have an amazing mustache?
Listen, what Amanda meant to say is Keith is great. The other three are okay.
Yeah.
Amanda, it's great to see you, by the way.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. It's been a minute. So, but end of the day, go get in real conversation. It's rolling in mine.
Boom, Kevin, take that shit.
Wow.
Hey,
Well,
my normal comeback would probably be completely inappropriate, and Amanda would not be happy with me.
oh, Amanda can take it, right?
If there was one guy that would take it, it would be Amanda.
Yeah.
So,
Just because she can take it doesn't mean she would still be happy with me that I said it.
How do you know she's happy with you in the first place?
Amanda says, "Bring it." Can we at least buy Keith some hair dye? So I mean, he's got facial hair. You just can't.
I need to do the men club.
Just
hair
just
dye.
for men.
Yeah, that's the one. Just for men. Going white in the
Or
chin.
maybe borrow some freaking stuff from Bernie to make it stand out.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody asked me if I had eyelashes one time. I'm like, I swear they're there. They're right there.
So I have the same problem, the eyelashes.
Yeah.
So I got to speak. So all right, well, let's kick it over to business fail. Kevin, this one's yours, brother.
All right, so I have a story for you, and I heard this, and I was like, oh my god, this is the best business fail ever. So when you go to the baseball game, well, other than Donnie, because Donnie doesn't sport, there are a few things that you can count on always seeing. You're going to hear the vendors hollering over the din of the crowd, get your Cracker Jack, your peanuts, popcorn. You're going to smell the peanuts, the hot dogs, the ludicrously overpriced beers. $12 a beer now. That's nuts. And if you're at the Citizens Park in Philadelphia, you're going to see a 6.5 foot tall, fuzzy green beast waddling across the field in search of trouble. Today's sports fail is all about sports mascots. So sports mascots weren't always a thing. Do you guys know who the first big sports mascot was?
Ooh. The first big sports mascot?
No.
When I say it, you're all going to be like, oh, yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
I want to say, well, I mean, the Fanatic.
The big yellow chicken. Who's the big yellow chicken?
San Diego Padre chicken.
Yes.
He was the first big one, and he was not your normal walking logo, which is what all the mascots had been up to that. He had a raunchy routine. He chugged beer through his beak, and he just acted out of his mind, and people were coming people were coming to the game to see him. He became so popular. Did you know he had his own TV show with Johnny Bench?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watch it all the time. The Baseball Bunch. It was a baseball skills game. He was on
awesome.
there. It actually won Emmys. It was on for 5 years. So at that time that the chicken came out, the Phillies had a problem. Attendance for Phillies games sucked. And the promotions department was trying to get more butts in the seats. And they saw the impact that the chicken was having in San Diego, so they decided to up their mascot game with a new character. So they went straight to the best people in the business, and they hired a design company who had actually worked, that they focus on creature design, and they designed Walter and the other old guy on the Muppets. They designed Miss Piggy. They kind of knew what they were doing. But this design company was a little bit worried about designing a mascot for the Phillies because the Phillies fans had booed Santa. All right. So they came up with the Philly Fanatic. He's a green, flightless bird from the Galapagos Islands with a megaphone snout and a pear-shaped body. He's 300 plus pounds, depending on what day of the week you weigh him. When the designers sold the character to the Phillies, they gave them a choice. And here's where the fail comes in. They could buy the costume and the copyright to the character for $5,200, or they could just buy the costume for $3,900. Phillies executive Bill Gates chose the latter, saving his team a whopping $1,300. The Fanatic debuted on April 25th, 1978, and the fans loved him immediately. The first year alone, the Phillies sold plush toys, T-shirts, pins, coloring books. The Fanatic was doing countless appearances outside games. All the auto body or all the car dealerships wanted him. The first year of merchandising alone, the designers received over $2 million in royalties.
And how much of that went to the Phillies?
No, that's what went to the designers. That was their cut of the.
Right. How much went to the Phillies? Right. Nothing.
We keep losing signal.
They didn't talk about that part. But yeah, I'm guessing there was probably still about 15 to 18 million that went to the Phillies. So Bill Gates, the Phillies executive who passed on the Fanatic copyright, who later called it his worst decision of his career. A few years later, the team bought the character from the designers for $215,000. In today's money, that'd be about $650,000. But wait, this fail hasn't ended. There's this fun little copyright law that after 35 years, if something is still viable, the original copyright owners have the opportunity to renegotiate. That 35-year clock recently expired on the Fanatic, and he was at risk of becoming a free agent and reverting back to the original copyright owners and getting to go work at another team. The Phillies and the designers settled out of court for an undisclosed amount.
Which means a lot.
Which means it was a lot. But it was a big thing. I think it was like in 2019 when that happened. So not only did they cost them $2 million in royalties in 1 year, $650,000 that they wouldn't have had to pay in licensing, buying the copyright, but then they had to buy it again 35 years later. So it was the fail that never stopped giving.
Right.
Fail to never stop giving.
So somewhere, Kevin, there's a picture of me and I think Scott when we were really little with the Philly Fanatic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've seen the picture, but I have no idea where I would find that again.
Huh.
How much do you think starting mascots get paid to be the guy in the suit?
Well, professional or college?
Yeah,
or
pro.
Pro? Oh, gosh.
It's a lot.
College, it's a student usually.
Let's say 70,000.
250.
85 to 100,000 plus incentives.
Wow. What could be
the highest paid mascot is Denver Nuggets Rocky the Mountain Lion. He earns over $600,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah, Rob, I couldn't agree with you more. That to me, that's the biggest fail in baseball. Is the Bobby Bonilla Day.
I don't even know what that is.
The New York Mets negotiated with him. He wanted a certain amount of money. They couldn't afford to pay it to him. They said, we will pay you $1.1 million a year for like 70 years.
Oh.
So the day he gets that check is called Bobby Bonilla Day because he'll get paid till like 2050 or something.
God, and he didn't have to do anything. I mean, he could literally just.
He's been retired for probably 15 to 18 years.
Yep.
Right. He's getting paid for another
on his part.
Another 15 to 20 years. So yeah. So it's always funny when you see the Mets and everything else. It's Bobby Bonilla Day. He gets his $1.1 million check.
Dude, I would on social media, I would freaking advertise the shit out of that. If I was Bobby Bonilla, I'd come out and make a big deal about it. Does he?
Yeah, if you follow the Mets or if you follow things, the Mets actually kind of joke around it now because early on it was a big deal. Now 1.1 million's doesn't really break their bank anymore. But yeah, it was great negotiation on his part.
God. Did y'all know that there is a banana slug as a mascot?
I think we talked about this a couple months ago.
Sammy the banana slug out of the University of California.
Yeah. There's some odd. Like Stanford, I think gets me the Stanford is crimson, and it's not the color crimson. It's like something to do with something else. It's really weird. They've got a Christmas tree that's not an unofficial mascot. It's really weird.
That's awesome, Rob.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that's actually a great payday.
One of my friends in college was the mascot for SDSU. He was the Jackrabbit, and I could never do it. Those suits reek. Oh yeah, he'd get back from a game and he'd just be soaking wet and so would the suit, and it would be nasty. We're like, you don't get to store that in the house. That is not a thing.
My goddaughter, her niece, she played Buzzy, the high school mascot, for a long time. She said the same thing. She goes, "It's just hot, running up and down the field." There's also a school that has an artichoke as their mascot. Scottsdale Community College, Artie the Artichoke.
One of the biggest and most known schools in the entire United States, you guys all know very well. We actually have an uncle that graduated from there, has a fuzzy nut as a thing. So Ohio State has a Buckeye, and
fuzzy nut,
which is a fuzzy nut falls off a tree. But the funny thing is, I'm thinking around the Big Ten conference. They're like, all right, Michigan's got their Wolverines, Penn State's got the Lions, Wisconsin's got Badgers. What can we do to really strike it home in their heart? And let's go with a nut. Like, who the hell came up with that? Ohio State.
That's like the Fighting Jackrabbits, because that sounds so fucking fierce.
Fierce.
Let's find this mythical creature. Might as well be called the unicorns.
Have you seen? Again, Donnie won't because he doesn't sport. But Philly's other major team, they got a couple, but
the Eagles,
Flyers, the hockey team,
hockey, yeah.
They have one called Gritty.
It's just a hairy dude.
Does he do the dance, like the gritty dance? Is that what it is?
Big orange furry monster looking thing.
See, look, Rob just pointed out, like, go Buckeyes. Like, let's go hairy nuts. What? I don't understand.
Please, can we isolate that from Keith and use that?
Look it up. Go Google a Buckeye and tell me what it is. Everybody else make me understand what it is. And their mascot is a giant nut.
I'm trying to show the damn
banana slug.
No, the first one is there's the Gritty.
Oh, okay, I thought maybe because you like danced. The Gritty's a
Buckeyes hairy nut
mascot. Just put Buckeye mascot.
Do not search Buckeye hairy nut. That will.
Yeah,
we will.
There he is. Look,
and
look at.
Yeah.
That's what a Buckeye nut looks like, his head.
That is just one nut. Now, is it also known as Lance Armstrong? I mean, is that too far? Too far?
Oh my God! All right, all the Ohio State Buckeye hate mail goes to Bernie in Detroit.
That's right. I'll take it. That's fine.
Banana slug sounds naughty, not gonna lie.
Yeah, that can go. That's it. Brutus Buckeye is his name.
Oh wow.
So
wow. Trace. Kevin, let's kick this thing over to
nuts now have eyes.
I found the slug. Let's see if I can share.
I'm not sure if I want to see.
Yeah, that's not something you should probably yell out. I found the slug.
Yeah. Make sure your Google search page is not open when you do this. Oh my God. Wait, are we going to see it? Oh, yeah. Here it comes.
There we go. Oh,
oh my God. What's he holding in the bottom there?
You know, that looks like a penis with horns. I'm just saying.
That is terrible.
I can't wait. I'll wait till Kevin's freaking search pops up from here on out.
I'm gonna have really
hairy nut
showing
with freaking penis
ads now.
Yeah. Next time you scroll through Facebook, it's gonna be ads for banana slugs.
Right.
It's gonna be like,
may the force be with you. I haven't updated that slide yet. So, Kevin, you're up. Talk about the podcast I sent you.
Hey, I like that you're sharing the screen now. I like this.
So I actually really like this one, and it was Donnie shared math today.
I did.
So he actually shared a really cool formula for figuring out value and figuring out in designing products. Actually, is how Alex said they use this to figure out what products they're going to launch and do stuff with. So it was called The Game with Alex Hermosa. The episode was from July 21st. It's called "The One Equation Will Make You Rich," and it was a video podcast on Spotify, which was my first one. So
exclusive.
So that was kind of cool. But basically, there were he built this quadrant, and there were 4 things that you look at in this formula to figure out how how successful your product's going to be. So on the top of the quadrant, on the left, is your dream outcome, and you multiply that by, over on the right, your perceived likelihood to achieve. So that's just kind of building the value for the client or the prospect. And then the bottom left, it was time. So time delay, how long is it going to take them to achieve those results? And then on the right was effort and sacrifice. So excuse me, how much work was it going to take for them to actually accomplish it, and what were they going to have to sacrifice? What were they going to have to give up that they really wanted to keep doing and they liked doing? So the top was the value they could receive, but the bottom was actually the part that would cause them to say yes or no. And he gave the example of the plastic surgeon or the weight loss surgeon, the one doctor who had done the surgery 10,000 times, or the doctor that's only done it once. The one with the 10,000 times, the perceived likelihood to achieve was going to be the same, or it was going to be higher. The time was going to be less because it was going to take him less time to do it. And it was going to be easier on the patient because there's probably going to be way less complications because it was a really experienced doctor. So I thought it was a really cool way to look at your product or your service and figure out, hey, how does this fit in the marketplace? And are we achieving, are we positioned correctly for our clients or our prospects to actually make a purchasing decision?
Yeah, it was good. I really like this one. I've actually listened to this episode probably 4 or 5 times now, and really diving into, because he really dove into, okay, when you think about your clients, what is that dream outcome that they're looking for? And very specifically, what are they trying to achieve with whatever your product or service is? And then how believable is it that they can actually get that freaking outcome? And, when you really start thinking about your clients and what they're buying from you, there's oftentimes, things that can we really get them that? Are they really going to get that? And he said, oftentimes, you figure, whatever the dream outcome is, what most people do is they only spend time on the top half of this equation, focused on the dream outcome and how believable it is you can actually accomplish it. So, and the believability, he said, came from lots of testimonials, video testimonials, the people, saying they got similar results in the same amount of time frame. And he said early in his career, he focused most of his time on what's the awesome thing they're trying to accomplish. How many freaking testimonials and things can I put out there to show that they accomplished it? And he said now what he's understanding is there's more of your time needs to be spent on the bottom of the equation, which is how long does it take for somebody to get success in what you do? So he put out the example, if you're a lead gen company and lead gen company number 1 says, we'll get started today, and in 6 weeks your phone's going to ring, and then the second company comes up and says, as soon as we get started, your phone rings. Right? There's an instant difference between the two, and people are going to go with the second option almost every time because it's instant results. And so how can you shorten the amount of time it takes to get success in whatever your product or service is? And then what's the effort or sacrifice on their part to actually get the success done?
The other thing that he talked about that was really cool was the 4 types of guarantees that you can offer. And the one that I always really love the most is the anti-guarantee. So there were 4. There was unconditional, conditional, anti, and implied. And the anti-guarantee is like, we're not going to guarantee results because you have to do work. And, and we're not going to, there's no money back guarantee because once you buy the secret sauce, you have the secret sauce. And what you do with it is up to you type thing. And that's always been my preferred one to use.
Man, I tell you, I like the other one he threw out there. 10 times better. And what he said was, there's specific activities that people have to do to find success in what you do. So make that as part of your guarantee. If you record, your daily activities for the next 6 weeks, you record the number of, in our case, virtual coffees, and you track the number of introductions and referrals you give in the next 6 weeks every day, and you don't see results, then we'll give you your money back. And I think that's brilliant because you're forcing them to do the things that will actually move their business forward. And I thought, damn, that is a really smart way.
We should have that conversation.
He gave a statistic that the rate of people who actually do that specific condition, that was a conditional guarantee, is like 1 or 2% hit rate on people who actually will do that tracking at that level.
So because it's just human nature that asking somebody to record something for 6 weeks, it's like things like 75 hard or Champions 90. Asking anybody to do anything for a time period is tough. People don't do the stuff. So
we couldn't get Keith to record his reach outs for the longest time.
Shit, I couldn't record my own reach outs, let alone him. I mean, it's a habit you got to get into and be able to do over time. And it's
well, I'm just trying to think about this, but the people that are going to record are the people that want their money back, right? And they're going to record, and then all of a sudden they're probably going to find out, oh shit,
this actually worked.
It actually works.
And that's the point. That's why I love
it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get my money back.
Well, I like the anti one because it was kind of the takeaway. It was almost like a version of the takeaway close of, if you aren't willing to do the work, then this isn't for you. Well, I'm going to do the work. I'm in.
But, for me, I just don't like that one because it's been overplayed so much, right? And you've just heard it so many times on tapes. I really like this idea that if you do this, this, and this by this point, and you don't see results, because you're literally telling them how to find success, right? And for me, I mean, that could even go so far to, even if they don't sign up, but they still do those things, they're going to find success in their business because that's the actual roadmap to success. So, and I agree, with Keith that the people that are actually going to track are the ones that are trying to get the refund versus, actually get the results. So, Kevin had me do this one. It was another Hermosi.
You guys are on a Hermosi kick lately,
dude. He freaking Alex Hermosi has just got a fantastic way of breaking down business so big bird style that I can understand it, and it's really kind of crazy to listen to him talk about the things he did, and he's done the things because he can speak about it in such a matter-of-fact way of here's the steps you need to do things. So Kevin, what did you think of this episode? I mean, this is actually a pretty good podcast because he gets into some cool conversations.
I liked it. I like that whole concept of skill stacking.
Yeah.
So that whole concept, you learn a skill, and now the next skill you learn needs to be something that makes the last skill you learn more valuable. And then you add another skill on top of that improves the value of the previous two. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially because they have so many plates spinning, aren't focused on developing a specific, a skill set. They will learn one thing and then they'll go on, they'll learn something completely new. And then they'll bounce around and learn something completely unrelated because they think they need to understand that, instead of really focusing on, all right, so how do we actually develop a skill and keep improving it and making that one skill more valuable?
Yeah, I struggled with this one. It's the first time I've listened to a Hermosi, and I struggled a little bit with it because I I part of it I think is I heard everything he said um, before, so that may have been part of it. There wasn't new. I love the overall idea of skill stacking. What people don't always take into context is that I don't care what you've done in life, those skills you learned at some point in your life, you're going to be using them now. I can lean back on every career I've had and something I've learned in that career, and I use it now. Even back from the HVAC days to, I was mentored under the gal who created the Coca-Cola Bears and the gal who created the Energizer Bunny. Um, and so I can, I bring that marketing stuff forward. I have those understandings on, sales, doing commercial printing, of course, doing sailor training. All these things have come along with me for the ride, and I'm now using them in this business. Even going back to starting the business, the things that I learned early on from graphic design programs and editing and the likes, when I hire or bring on other vendors, I can have more intelligent conversations because I've done a lot of the things ahead of the time. So I really like the idea of skill stacking. But probably my biggest takeaway in here that I really liked is he said, find a market that will pay you more for the same skill set. So, if whatever skill or knowledge you had in this one arena may pay, measly dollars, but move it over to a different market and it may be an absolute gold mine. So it was a cool way to think about, even where we're playing with the company overall and what pools we're swimming in on a regular basis. So it was quick, so I appreciate the hell out of that. Oh, um, cool. Next segment. This should be interesting that everybody can play with. We're going to talk about cold calling, but from the perspective of an introvert and an extrovert. So, and
Oh my God.
why some do better than others. Bernie, extrovert or introvert?
I would probably say that I'm generally more of an introvert is my natural state.
Keith's the extrovert, but he's kind of an omnivert. Kevin is 100% an introvert. And then I haven't met too many strangers in my life, but I'm very, very freaking particular about who I want to talk to and with.
Yeah, I always tell people I'm an introverted extrovert. Right, I have no problem getting into a public place, having a conversation with people like that. But it's not. I don't want to go in that and have to do something like that.
Yeah. So, but given the right setting, the two of us on the screen, I know for sure, can look like extreme extroverts when we're not necessarily. Kevin never looks like an extrovert.
When I tell people I've battled through anxiety, people I've known for 20, 30 years in my career, and I tell them I deal with anxiety issues. They're like, there's no way. And I'm like, yeah. I said, I hide it very well. Right. You're never going to know I have anxiety issues.
It's like people, they come up to me and all the time, they're like, I wish I was as confident as you. And in the back of my head, I'm like, God, if they only knew.
The only place I look like an extrovert is on stage.
Yep, I will agree with that. Dude, every time Kevin gets on stage, I can't tell you how many people come up to me afterwards are like, I didn't know he could do that. It becomes a completely different fucking person. He's so quiet and behind the scenes rest of the time, but as soon as he steps on stage, it's over. So cold calling as an introvert, love it, hate it, love it.
For me, when I was doing a ton of cold calling, the biggest issue was it was almost conflict, and that's the big. I think one of the biggest.
What do you mean conflict?
Because it is there's that opportunity for someone to say no. So it is not just a conversation for fun. It is a conversation where you might lose, and there's going to be so that kind of negotiating or something going on in it. So that was I think one of the biggest turnoffs for introverts, because it was more conflict than just conversation. So, but for me, what I got to get past that was figuring out the numbers game piece. And now a no is just a number for me. And I needed X number of no's to get a yes, or X number of hangups to get on the call, which meant I needed a number of those to get a yes, which I need so many of those to get a sale. So when I was telemarketing, I knew all my numbers. Now, the cold calling that I couldn't do was just the actual knocking on a door and walking in.
See, that to me was so much
Not a
easier.
fucking chance.
I'd much rather do that than pick up the phone.
I did it for a couple times and I was like, this is completely stupid. It takes way too long to get any type of connection with people. Half the people aren't there, so I'm not talking to anyone.
One of the largest deals I closed in my life was because I walked into the back door of Mary Kay's, distribution center. To me, it's funny. I hated cold calling. To this day, I'm still not a big fan of cold calling. It works, and it works really, really well. I had to trick myself into cold calling. And the way I tricked myself was I saw a guy in the Sandler system teach a lot of us sales guys. He goes, hey, we're going to teach you guys how to cold call the Sandler way. And we thought he was going to teach a class. And he walked to the front of the room, put the speakerphone on, and just started cold calling in front of us. Now, here we were all a bunch of seasoned sales guys that have been doing this shit for a while. And this dude just started freaking down. I was like, holy shit, this dude's got brass balls. And then, I got pissed. I'm like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not calling up people and saying, hey, look, I'll come train your sales team. And here's what I'll do, and I'll do it no charge. Let me come freaking, cold call live in front of your room, teach cold calling. And if you guys are into it, we'll do more of it. And eventually I said, all right, I'm going to quit doing it for free. And people started paying me to come do live cold calls in their freaking office in front of their sales staff. I was literally getting paid to freaking prospect. And it was awesome. And most times people would invite me in just to watch the monkey in front of the room, doing dials. But the first time I ever did live cold calls in front of a room, I set a trap for myself saying, by God, I'm going to do this. And I told all of our current clients, look, come to a cold call workshop. I'm going to do live dials. And, I knew all of them. But the day that I was going to do live dials and I'm watching everybody come in, the CEO of my number one company shows up. Now, this guy freaking had never attended anything else we'd ever done. I sold him on getting us in the system, but Mr. Cockrell walked in the room and my heart freaking sunk, dude. I was already nervous as hell. And now I had the CEO of my biggest account, and it was not a small account, sitting in the room. And I went, son of a bitch. So luckily, by some just grace of something, man, I actually set an appointment with him sitting there. And I'm like, thank God. Afterwards, I walked up to John Cockrell, Mr. Cockrell, and I said, hey, Mr. Cockrell, I said, I really enjoyed having you here. What the hell made you decide to show up today? His exact words, because I can still hear him saying it, was, I just wanted to see if the shit that I was paying for was actually worth it. Well done today. And I went,
oh, shit.
Right. So I didn't know that I was actually on the firing line right then and there for this guy.
Yeah.
And
Excuse me while I go change my pants.
But that was the first time. And, from then on there, it got a lot easier.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more about putting on a show.
I remember about 10, 11 years into my sales career, I had to sit out a non-compete for 3 years. And I had to go sell into physician offices, which I had never done before.
So
and
hard.
Physician offices are tough because you've got a gatekeeper, which is the lady that answers the phones. And after probably a good 6 months of just getting my head kicked in, and we were the new company in town in Indianapolis, and I couldn't get in anywhere. So finally, I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out, right? So I came up with this stupid thing where I'd walk in, they're like, can we help you? I'm like, yep. I'm here to sell you something that you probably don't need for a price that's probably way too high, but I'm in a good mood and I'd love to share it with you guys. And about 50% of the time they look at me and laugh and say, you're the first honest salesperson we've ever met. Come on back. And I started getting business and I started teaching this to the other people. We had 7 sales reps in Indianapolis. And I started teaching them what I was doing. Right. And then they all started trying this whole thing. And next thing you know, bam, we hit that market pretty hard and did it pretty well. But I used my humor to get me in, to make me more comfortable, and two, to hopefully make them more comfortable to actually just start a conversation.
God, it's such a life lesson in sales in general. I mean, the more you can become human quickly, the better off you're going to be. That's why when I cold call, I love saying, hey, this is a cold call. You okay if I tell you why I'm calling, or do you want to hang up? And they laugh most times,
Right.
because it's just brutally honest. You can go so far to say, hey, this is a cold call. I actually hate doing them. I'm not very good. Right? Is it okay if I tell? And most times they're going to come rescue you. They're like, all right, you got 5 seconds. Right? You just get that step forward in the conversation. But, people get hung up on, like, if you give an introvert a script, they're going to read it verbatim and for like the first 20, 30 times until they figure out how to find their own footing, and then they'll change it. You give a guy like me a script, my ego is going to kick in. I'm going to throw it to the side and just start dialing, trying to figure it out. And then when just dialing and trying to figure it out doesn't work, I'll go back to the script, and then I'll try it once and go, okay, now I really sound stupid. And then I'll go back and try and figure it out. So, for anybody cold calling, I promise you that the best way to do it is to find your most smart ass friend, like the one that is the biggest ball buster in the planet. Sit down side by side and go, you go, I go. They make a call, you make a call. And if they make a call and somebody picks it up and they flub the call, say something dumb, you better bust their chops like no tomorrow. And then get ready, because you're turning around and you're going to dial until somebody picks up. And then if you screwed up, they're going to bust your chops. But if it hits and it works, man, you guys better get up, high five, celebrate the hell out of that, and it takes a lot of the edge off. But what's funny to me is, even when, like, in Champions Table for the last couple of meetings, we've been teaching cold calling, and Jennifer J's in there, and one of the things we made them do is to go get 10 no's or go get 20 no's by doing dials. And because I just think cold calling is the absolute best way to learn how to sell anything, because you're on in an instant, right? You have to be on your game right then and there. And we made them all do role playing during Champions Table by doing cold calls, and to watch them freak the fuck out. They're like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. And we made every one of them do it, because it is actually harder to cold call with your peers watching than it is to cold call on your own. And that's what we kept trying to tell them is, look, do it here, because you're going to sound stupid. You're going to fuck it all up. If you do it here, you're not going to do it so bad out there. And this takes the edge off it. So we made them all do it, but they were not happy about it. I don't like cold calling, but it freaking works. And I would tell everybody in this day and age, literally picking up the phone and calling is working so well because nobody else is doing it. Right.
Well, one of the benefits of the cold calling is not just that you have to be on immediately, you have to have your message so refined, because you can't ramble on about what you're trying to do. You have to have it down to the least number of words and the most easy to understand and direct. And that was, once I figured that out, then cold calling was super easy. Once I had that messaging down, it's like, oh, here's what they react to and how I get into the conversation, game on. But a lot of people don't take the time to pay attention to what they're saying. They just go through, they check the box. Oh, I did enough calls. It's kind of like when I started podcasting, Donnie had told me, now pay attention when they're talking to you and when they lean in. And when you say something, they're like, oh, tell me about that. That really happened? No way. Because that's now what you need to figure out. All right, so how do I improve that? Because that's what people want to hear about. Same is true with the cold calling.
Yeah, it's I think the biggest secret to cold calling is it's like making pancakes. Every time you do it, your first one's going to suck, right? And then
I still eat it.
Right.
I still eat the first one. All right.
Right. They just get progressively better time over time. Paul says he's got something that may help. So I'm sure it's something to do with story, learning to story something. But online salesscript.com. Well, that's interesting. Does it just give you a sales script? There's another way you can probably do it too. Go to Chat GPT, type in your business, industry, all the things you do, and say, give me a sales script. Give me a cold call script. Yeah, it'll type one out too. So, all right. So coming up in training and sessions, it's a very cool week. So for the members of the Success Champions peer groups, Kevin and I will be in Atlanta. So we'll be figuring out how to do the session live from there some way, somehow. So, or we're going to tap Keith in if we can't get the cameras going. So we'll be figuring that out. I was forced cold calling in my past and gave it such a bad taste in my mouth. Yeah. But if you guys are in the Atlanta area, the Battle Business Summit is this weekend by Zach Knight's putting this on. It's got a huge speaker lineup. Kevin and I are both speaking there.
I thought you said it was a huge lineup.
Oh, well, I'll be there. I mean, I guess Kevin will be too. And then for the members of Success Champions for the month, we're all talking about customer acquisition and retention. So Kevin's supposed to teach this week, supercharging your sales process. Next week, I'm teaching prospecting 101. On the 17th, client retention best practices. And then on 24th, Kevin is teaching unlocking your customer value. Coming up on August 11th, hosting Build the Business Freedom workshop. You can find that on LinkedIn and Facebook and Eventbrite on there. Coming up, talking about the ways and strategies you can actually build to business freedom. So hell of a week, hell of a time. We're going to be bringing Bernie in to help us full time here on Mondays and put him through the paces. So y'all get to enjoy that sexy, brilliant mustache each week with us. And maybe we should give his mustache a mascot name of some sort.
Can we call it the Philly Fanatic, or is that not?
I think that's copyrighted already.
I think that mustache is going to get a nickname.
Well, listen, Detroit, Michigan has lions and tigers. They don't have bears, so maybe we call it the Bear. Lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my!
I mean, that is where my name comes from, Bernard the Bear.
There it is.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Who's Bernard the Bear?
It's so like, yeah, if you go back in like the roots of names, Bernard is derived from a bear.
Oh.
So if we just call you Bernstein Bears?
I mean, I prefer you didn't.
We're stretching now.
So, guys, as always, thanks for hanging out with us. Hope we help kick your Mondays off. We do this every Monday, 8 a.m. Central. Go have a kick-ass week and stay out of trouble. Go sell something, would you?